Yeah, come and take a look at the snow. Bright white as far as your eyesight goes. Come and take a look at the fields of snow. I'll just get my coat, then we're good to go. Come and take a look at the lake. Let's have a quick skate before it gets late. Come and take a look at the frozen lake. Put your clothes on, mate, don't make that mistake. Happy Christmas.
Greetings, holiday shoppers. There are now 121 shopping days left until Christmas, and I think you know what that means. That means it's time for another episode of Christmas Creeps, your one-stop shop for holiday movies and TV shows all year round. Hi, my name is Joseph Wade. I will be your host for this evening. Here with me tonight, as always, are my co-hosts, Johnny Five, the human robot.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, John, what's going on?
Recording a podcast.
Also with us, as always, is Mr. Bradford. Brad, what's checking?
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Buongiorno.
Salutations, ancient tutors. That's French for greetings, shoppers. And
yeah,
boy, oh boy, tonight's episode is going to get buck wild because tonight we are discussing a snooty, boring French film that we've been wanting to discuss for quite some time.
Only one of those descriptors that you just said is actually true.
Snooty?
No.
Oh yeah, it is in fact a film.
Oh, I guess two then. It is a French film.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's true. I mean, snooty and boring only in so much as Americans think anything French is snooty and boring, but
anything where they have to read to watch a movie is snooty and boring.
Oh yeah, if I wanted to read, I'd open a damn book. But no.
Less said about all of that mindset, the better.
Yeah, for real.
Let's just leave that on the table where it is. I think you know where we stand on that because we watched this movie.
This movie tonight goes by many names. Originally titled 3615 Code Pere Noel, otherwise known as Dial Code Santa Claus, otherwise known as Deadly Games, otherwise known as Game Over, and finally, otherwise known as The Fantasies of Little Rambo.
Wait, that last one's real?
Yes, that last one is like the Portuguese title.
Awesome. You forgot one.
Did I?
It's also known as Doki Doki Panic.
Now listen here, Bradford. If you're trying to tell me that they took this game and reskinned it and released it in the United States as Home Alone, actually, you know what? You'd be right. That's exactly what they did.
Also known as Yume Kojo Doki Doki Panic.
Actually, this strikes me more as like Little Straw Dogs than anything else.
Yeah, more or less.
Look, there's a lot going on in this film.
There's a lot going on that we need to unpack. So, for starters, I mean, man, we didn't even get to talk shop for a minute. We're just launching straight into this because this is a movie that just demands to be unraveled at some point in some way.
Oh,
this was one that we had been trying to hunt down for at least 2 years. It finally found its way over to the United States just in the last couple of years, and it's been making the Alamo Drafthouse circuit for a while, and it finally found a home on streaming video. It's available to stream on Shudder, the one-stop shop for horror and thriller everything, which is kind of an appropriate place for this. So we were absolutely thrilled when we finally got the chance to watch and discuss this film because it's been touted as the French inspiration for Home Alone, and whether or not that's actually true is very much up for debate.
Yes. Did we say it was released in 1989?
Yes, one full year before Home Alone. So they may or may not have a really compelling case to state that they were in fact ripped off for Home Alone.
Yeah, where to even start with this?
Sorry, I'm eating something.
Rude.
I know I have very poor podcast.
Is it at least a food review?
No, it was just a Reese's peanut butter cup.
How would you rate it?
Yeah, you're not even going to give us like one of those horrible Halloween flavors which are already out now?
No, it was just straight up a regular peanut butter cup, and it was sitting here and taunting me, and I just had to have it. And I apologize for stopping the podcast so that I could just indulge my shitty sweet tooth.
Yeah, I would say Sheets already has the Halloween candy out, but I don't think they ever stopped having the Halloween candy out, to be honest.
No, now they have. Okay, so we're taking our very first detour into actual Christmas creep chat, because Sheets does have, like, it's not Halloween candy, but it's like fall candy. Like, there's like 3 different flavors of M&Ms that are out now, and I want to say 2 of them are like they're fall flavors, like caramel apple and like buttered popcorn. Like,
Barf.
yeah, right. So there's like the state fair. It's state fair season, basically, is what we're getting into. The sun is destroying this country because it's still the dog days of summer, but that is not stopping people from saying, "Hey, everybody, fall's right around the corner."
I feel like Sheets is an automatic out, because at any given moment at Sheets, you have 3 different like seasons and holidays worth of candy going on. Because you have like the clearance bin at the checkout line where they still have like Easter candy.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got, you got a floor display with summer candy, and then you've got on the shelves they managed to put in some fall candy or something like that. It's always ridiculous.
Oh yeah. And then if you go into the stores like Walmarts and Targets of the world, they're starting to break out their holiday candies and their holiday decorations just a little bit, just because it's people aren't quite ready for it, so they just put that one rack up in the back of the store, and hey, maybe they're into it, maybe they're not, but we'll see. It's a test rack.
So I haven't been into a Walmart or a Target or any big box store since all of this gestures generally began. You know how Target does like a seasonal section?
Oh, yeah.
Did they do like one for COVID where it was just the COVID section?
No, I want to see. There were a good couple of months where I straight up did not go to any big box store, back in like March and June. But I want to say they just kind of kept on trucking. They just treated it like normal.
That's what I would expect, but just didn't know.
Because I was in a Target, just last week, and that big seasonal section is still back to school supplies. The school season is kind of on shaky ground right now, but they're still trucking like, hey, back to school, kids. Everybody's got to have their backpacks and their composition notebooks and pencils and stuff. But then, like, right at the very edge of that, like, oh, hey, also, guess what? Here's a bag of candy corn.
As if this wasn't bad enough, now we put candy corn in. Ah, okay. So, we actually segued that pretty nice.
That was, yeah. Speaking of children's playthings that are more insidious than they seem, let's talk about Dial Code Santa Claus.
Okay.
How about that? So, my favorite question to ask on this podcast: where do we want to start tonight? I guess what we should do is, because this is kind of a new film to us, and we'd all just experienced it together this weekend. Only in the sense that we all watched it. Not that we watched it together at all, because COVID is still a thing. Let's start with this. What are the similarities to Home Alone?
There's a home.
A home invasion, a grown man trying to kill a small child. It happens on Christmas. The mom is separate. The family is largely separated from the child.
And also the family is richer than Jesus.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one, too. Huh?
Yeah. This family's wealth puts the McAllisters to shame. I mean, they live in a castle, basically.
They live in a castle where the child has a secret toy room that nobody knows about.
And the secret toy room is basically as big as Scrooge McDuck's pool full of money.
Oh, by the way, we have a dead parent alert.
Oh, God.
We have a dead dad alert.
No.
Which is it's twisting it a little bit, because usually it's a dead mom alert.
Yeah.
We got a dead dad alert.
Raise the klaxon. We got a dead dad alert, people. As the film starts, the father is out of the picture, and the mom may or may not be banging her work associate on the side.
They are absolutely 10,000% doing the horizontal monster mash.
Yes. And there's a great scene where the kid fixes his mom's car, and the only reason he fixes her car is so that she doesn't have to be picked up by what's his name, Roland, anymore.
That Roland.
Fucking Roland.
Fucking Roland.
But like it completely papers over the fact that like, yeah, the kid he actually got his mom's car back up and running. This is a 10-year-old boy we're talking about here.
So there's a bit to this movie, and it runs throughout this entire movie that this is Thomas, our main character, Tommy or Tomas.
Tomas, yes,
is a child prodigy in like pretty much every regard, except he is a computer programmer. He's a mechanical wunderkind, and
also he's certifiably insane. Because he like the first thing
at the beginning, it doesn't work out. This movie, the first 5 minutes of this movie by itself is friggin' buck wild.
It's wonderful. Like it starts, the opening shot of the film is a snow globe scene of Paris getting run over by a truck, not just any truck, but a garbage truck. Like. This is like on par with Citizen Kane of how to start your film with a bang.
Oh man!
And then
we have children's snowball fight.
Yes, the snowball fight with a bunch of kids, and this vagrant kind of wanders into the fight, and he sees the kids playing, and he loves it, and he tries to join in.
He wants to play too.
And all of the kids immediately run away.
Immediately bail.
It is kind of, I don't know if refreshing is the right word, but it's kind of entertaining that the guy's just a sicko. There's absolutely no explanation, rhyme, or reason to it. Like, no, the guy's a sicko. That's all you need to know.
Right.
Yeah. So we cut over to Tomas, and he's asleep in an airplane with his dog in the back.
Yes.
And then he wakes up and climbs out of it into like this weird toyland with a weird, vaguely racist totem pole, and he's like walking around, and then he goes and there's a workout montage. It's
a workout montage set to a sound-alike of Survivor's Eye of the Tiger.
I know.
This is some due to the beginning of Home Alone 2 bullshit.
Yeah.
And then he puts on war paint. You have to experience this for yourself.
And he like the first 10 minutes is him playing soldier in the house, in this giant mansion of a house. And like it sets up all the little booby traps and things that he will definitely have to use later in the film. And it's very well put together, because like he traps the dog. He lures the dog into a booby trap where like the floor falls out from underneath him and it gets caught in a net. And
poor JR, he didn't deserve it.
Poor JR. And then I love that the mom even like chastises him and says like, please stop putting trap doors in the house. I'm begging you.
Yes. So it's implied that Tomas has set up all of these tricks and traps. He's got like a supercomputer in his basement and has the entire. It is implied that he is the one who wired the entire sound system in the house.
Yeah.
He's got like a weird wart radio set up in his basement.
I think it's suggested probably that the dad helped him out with that before he Christmas movied himself.
Yeah. Okay.
John, that's the best way. That's the best like term I've ever heard for that. He Christmas movied himself.
Saw himself out of the plot and into the backstory.
Took a one-horse open sleigh right out of this movie. But yeah, it's definitely implied that the dad is the one who sort of taught Thomas all of his tricks, basically.
Yes.
Because yes. The mom is at least accepting of it. She loves that he's creative and intelligent, and one of the running the running thread with her is she wants him to still believe in Santa Claus. Like, he's 10 years old and she knows that, he's growing up, but she wants to give him like one more special Christmas, which, considering that they are like the millionaire the millionaire family that runs this like department store empire, is not going to be difficult for her.
Yes. So we're also introduced to Thomas's grandpa, who I believe is just grandpa.
Yes. And
does not have a name.
Grandpa's whole thing is that he is mostly blind
and diabetic.
So Thomas has to constantly lead him around the house, ferry him to safety at all times.
You know the game Eco. You know the game Resident Evil 4.
I do.
It's basically half of this entire movie is a really crappy escort mission, is all we're trying to say.
And I don't know that Grandpa understands the threat most of the time.
That is into his credit.
I mean,
if you're a grandpa and your grandson comes to you and says Santa Claus is trying to kill you, most grandpas probably would not believe it.
right. And I mean, Grandpa's introduced in the film as Thomas like jumps on his bed to wake him up as the kid's like playing war, and the grandpa
That's really weird because probably Gramps lived through World War II.
Yeah.
Gramps is like taking this in stride for the fact that he is, an 80-year-old man living in France in 1989.
Gramps just wakes up like, oh, they make the SS shorter these days.
Gramps just cold clogs the kid. I thought I was back in the Resistance. Oh boy. Yeah. So
okay,
that is our dramatis personae, except for Roland, who is Mom's coworker. They are definitely doing
He's
it.
definitely her boyfriend.
Yes.
We also
yes.
He definitely is. I mean, there's no getting around it.
And then we are introduced to, I guess, a minor character who's Thomas's little shitty friend, Pilau, who doesn't believe in Santa Claus, who's your common skeptic. Yeah, that's pretty much everybody.
And
almost
the plot gets going because Thomas and Pilau are on Thomas's computer on a message board chatting with who they think is Santa Claus.
So we got to talk about Minitel because it's actually this actually informs the original French title.
Okay.
So Minitel, for those of you not in the know, was basically a French-only pre-internet internet that was over the phone lines, I guess, just like dial-up. But the interesting thing about it is it was originally created by the French telephone company as just an online address book, and they handed out they made these computers pretty available to anybody with a phone line. And then what happened is like a homebrew community started using it for chat rooms and message boards and things like that. And so
kind of contemporary with like old BBS like systems where you dial directly into them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so at the beginning of this film, during that scene with the garbage truck running over the snow globe, there's an ad for the number to dial Santa Claus, Pere Noel. And it's the 3515 or something,
3615, which is kind of like .com or something like that. Basically, it's you put it before everything.
Yeah, so you would dial in to the Minitel for this presumed line to talk to Santa Claus, and that actually informs this kicks off the plot because Tomas and Pilau dial into this Santa Claus chat room. And we come to find out that on the other end of the line, I don't know why they don't have like designated people to dial into this, is the vagrant that we're introduced to at the beginning of this film. And he asks Thomas for his address.
Right, and he's using it as like it's basically the Minitel version of a payphone. Like a public Minitel.
I guess the contemporary version is he would be at a library computer or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So he gets cut off before Tomas can give him his address. And there's like kind of a peed angle going on. Like John said, they're kind of playing up the sicko angle.
Yeah, the reason the plot gets moving is because Thomas is like, "Oh, I left my letter to you with my mom. She's working at Print Temp right now." Yeah.
The other interesting thing is about Minitel, I guess, is there were some very unsavory parts of it, just like the internet. There's a really great I know you don't like when I plug other podcasts, but there's a really great Reply All episode about this. We'll put it in the show notes. It's all about Minitel, and they interview a guy who worked on like a sex hotline acting as a lady on multiple Minitels at a time. So there's definitely like a seedy element to a lot of Minitel chat rooms. So I feel like that sort of informed this in sort of, you know how you still have those Lifetime dramas where a kid gets in big trouble by saying too much on the internet. This is kind of the prehistoric version of that.
the Disney version of that, there's an actual movie that's basically this. It's called First Kid. Do you remember this movie?
I figured you were going to say Blank Check.
No.
The computer who wore tennis shoes.
No, First Kid is literally about this, where like the president's son starts using like message boards and user groups on the internet and makes like makes his best friend, and it turns out his best friend is just trying to stalk and kill the president's son. This is a Disney movie starring Sinbad, everybody.
I assume Sinbad is the president?
No, he's the secret security officer detailed to follow the president's son.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
Check it out on Disney Plus today. I don't know if it's on Disney Plus.
I know the computer who wore tennis shoes is. Maybe both of them? I know the old one is.
Hey, just watch. Tell me everything I want to know. Yes, First Kid is on Disney Plus.
There you go.
Dial Code
There
Santa
you
Claus,
go.
by the way, is on Shudder, which you can watch through their own streaming service natively, or you can get it through Amazon if you get Shudder through Amazon.
There's also a free trial.
Yeah, which is what
Wanna just-
we all used.
What we all did, and it canceled immediately, probably.
Well,
you're like
I'll
me.
spend that week looking around and see what else they have, but yeah, I'll probably cancel.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, there's a worrisome number of things that are now Shudder exclusive that used to not be, which I never like seeing that.
Such as what? Like,
Oh, I
Any-
think it said that Better Watch Out, that piece of crap, was a Shudder exclusive now. There were several movies on there labeled as Shudder exclusives, which were like, I remember watching that on not Shudder.
Man, can we do a quick sidebar on how bad all of this is getting? All this streaming exclusivity, walled garden,
oh yeah,
slice and dice. Piracy is looking better and better by the day.
this is what cable TV was. This is why we got rid of cable TV, and now it's back again.
I mean, granted, it's maybe like 20 fewer channel, quote unquote channels, but it's still getting really bad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the price you're paying now for all of these a la carte services is basically the price of a quality cable package anyway.
I mean, not to be that guy, but at least we're not subsidizing sports anymore. There's that.
That's true.
I mean,
If you want to, I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. If you like sports, go watch sports. Cool. But as someone who doesn't watch sports, I do like the decrease in the price of everything, because I'm only using one service. I only got Netflix.
I'm only using 2 services, and one of them is Brad's Disney Plus.
Oh, well, I got Disney Plus free, so that doesn't count.
I'm subscribed to Netflix and Hulu more out of attrition than anything else, I guess, at this point. And like, I'm not going to subscribe to like CBS All Access or HBO Max or any of those. The only other one I'm subscribed to is Dropout, because Dropout is 100% original content. That's it. Like, I'm not going to fucking pay extra because CBS is like, what if we had Netflix's money? Fuck you.
Yeah, no.
Wait,
kidding.
what is Dropout?
Dropout's
Yeah,
the
I've
college humor one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horror show out there for entertainment, and you know what? All I can say is this is as good a reason as any to keep your physical media, because you never know when it's going to leave the streaming service that you have and go to a streaming service you don't have.
Yeah.
It's real bad out there, folks.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's why
it's funny too, the cycle we go through where as soon as as type of physical media goes out of style, everyone just kind of starts shitting like, man, remember we used to buy DVDs? It's like, yeah, and there's some shit you can only get on DVD now. There's still shit you can only get on VHS for that matter.
Oh yeah. And as many Blu-ray DVDs as I have, like there's still only things that you can get on, standard definition DVD that just haven't made it yet. And this is kind of one of them. This movie still doesn't have like a physical release in the US as far as I'm aware of any kind.
I feel like this is prime for like a Shout Factory release at some point or something.
It's kind of like what's that movie? The original French version of Mixed Nuts. Like trying to find that, you can get a Blu-ray version of it for $40. That's your only option. And
Yikes.
And chances are it's a region locked, like a region 2 Blu-ray. So unless you have a region free player, which I think most Blu-ray players are nowadays anyway.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
with the advent of Blu-ray is you can actually buy the French DVD and run it, but before that, no, you needed a region-free DVD player.
Yeah, because like
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think Blu-ray even has regions anymore.
no,
does it?
I was thinking of like standard DVD because like standard DVD has like 7 or 8 different regions, and then Blu-ray
it was a
kind of
mess.
pared it down to 3.
I remember when my old computer, the DVD drive, you were allowed to change the region of the DVD drive 5 times
Yes.
before it wouldn't let you anymore.
I remember that.
That sucked so bad because I definitely changed the region a couple of times.
I definitely destroyed my college PC with that because I would rent stuff from the library that was I was only region 2 or 3, and you could like you said, you can only do that 4 or 5 times. So I definitely used those 5 times.
Did you at least get it back to region 1?
Yeah, I
the
had
end, or no?
I had to really think about what I was doing before I used that very last one.
What a mess. Region locking is the worst.
It's all a nightmare. So
Isn't everything? Let's
2000.
Let's
It's
move on,
2020. Everything is a nightmare, and everybody knows it. So
Yes.
speaking of nightmares, Dial Code Santa Claus has.
yes.
Oh yeah, we're talking about that.
Okay, so the next step in sort of this plot progression, where this vagrant Santa Claus, who's only credited as Santa Claus, he doesn't have a name. He's not called like the Shape, like Michael Myers. He's just called Santa Claus. He goes to the department store where Thomas's mother works and I don't know if he becomes the store Santa Claus or just assumes the role of Santa Claus.
She does that asshole boss thing where she's like, I need Santa Clauses on every corner, and it's the day, it's the night before Christmas, and I need you to hire 20 people and plan this in advance. And like one of the guys is like, why didn't you tell us about this 2 months ago? She's like, there's a little boy who doesn't believe in Santa, or may not believe in Santa Claus a month ago. And it's like, man, you're the worst.
Like, hey, department store, were you just not gonna have Christmas?
Yeah, but she like wants to go to the nines. Forget the fact that Tomas is not even at the department store, which I thought was gonna be the thing.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Who is she trying? Why is she doing this when Tomas is not even there?
I have no idea.
Like they make it a bit. It's kind of a plot hole. They make it a big thing where like she's going to every expense to make this like the biggest Christmas at springtime. And Tomas is at home playing D&D with his grandpa. Can we talk about the really bad D&D knockoff they're playing?
I was hoping you would ask about that. Yes.
I get the feeling it's specifically some weird 80s board game version of it that only got released in France.
Yeah, it's basically, I assume it's like the French version of Hero Quest. So the Vagrant, we're just going to call him the Vagrant from now on, I guess. I don't know.
Donjons et Dragons.
Pere Noel. Pere Noel
did-
gets a temp job as a Santa. At
It
Printemps.
was great seeing the game where the kid throws 3 dice. He throws like a role-playing set
D20.
D6, a D20, and then a normal like Yahtzee D6.
It's so bad. It's so good though. It's basically the D&D equivalent of in other media where they're holding like a GameCube controller and it's Atari sound
You
effects.
use your Donkey Kong.
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's like, to Grandpa's credit, Grandpa's like actually playing the game.
But he's still only level 1 after 2 years.
2 whole years.
He finally leveled up.
Hey, some people are slow learners.
Yes.
But what really gets this thing moving is that the Santa Claus lures a small child into his orbit, basically.
His aura, his presence.
His creepy, horrifying aura.
I'm not the only one. I was talking to Joe about this a little bit, but John, you weren't here for this. Do they kind of play up like, is he a peed angle for the first half of this movie, right?
Is he or isn't
he? They totally code him as a total peed, right?
The thing I will say is I don't know if that's being too much informed by current time compared to then, because it really comes off more as like he's some weird Arrested Development dude where he never progressed past childhood, and he's like, I want to play with the kids. Oh, the kids think I'm a giant weird creep. Oops.
Yeah, the second half of this movie really lays that bare that that's really the case. I don't know if the Pete angle was intentional in the first half. Probably that's giving the writers too much credit, or maybe it's just informed by the time. You're right.
But yeah, so the Santa Claus has this child, and she they stare each other down for a good 20 to 30 seconds until the girl just rips his beard off. It's like, you're not the real Santa Claus, and he just fucking slaps her across the face. And at that moment, Thomas's mother shows up, and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And she basically fires him. And then it occurs to me, oh, this is a messed up, warped Miracle on 34th Street scenario. Where the kid kind of wants to believe in Santa Claus, and the Santa Claus gets fired from a department store. And so the drunken, homeless department store Santa sets out to make the kid believe in Santa Claus, quote unquote.
Yeah, well, sort of.
Sort of. We should probably dedicate an entire episode to Miracle on 34th Street, because I know that's not entirely what that movie's about. But it's got that echo in there. But so after getting fired, laid off on the job, he goes into the office to collect his pink slip, and discovers that Thomas's mother is having an entire truckload of toys and presents sent to the house. And he finds out where the house is. And I want to believe he kills the driver of the truck and then drives the truck to the house.
He kills him after he gets to the house.
Okay.
Otherwise,
that makes
how
sense.
would he know where that? I don't think he actually figures out the address. He just kind of stows away in the van.
Yeah, he's just hiding in the back of the van.
That makes more sense. This is all the first act of the film.
By the way, there's a very Greek sort of thing going on here where all of the human kills are off screen.
Yeah, kind of. There's really only one legit
question mark.
There's really only one legit on-screen kill, and it's honestly the most disturbing scene in the film.
It's a huge bummer. It's the worst.
It's a big
and
fat
I hated
bummer at the start of the second act, because Thomas decides to stay up to see Santa Claus, and he's hiding under the kitchen table, which is next to the fireplace.
Oh, we should also mention that he's got a Five Nights at Freddy's-esque armband that lets him view different security cameras that he set up around the house, which, of course, for the late 80s is very much a thing that probably you could tangibly do, but probably not within the range of any child.
Yeah, he's basically got a night trap game strapped to his wrist.
A Pip-Boy.
A Pip-Boy. But
I mean, it is like a giant car phone.
Did you watch the night trap 100% run in GDQ?
I did not.
I know what those words mean, but I definitely did not do that.
Games Done Quick was last week. They did a full captured all of the baddies run of Night Trap, and it's incredible because you have to be flicking back and forth between so many screens to catch all the baddies that you don't even actually watch the plot of Night Trap while you're doing it.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
this person had it straight memorized, basically.
Oh, they played it blindfolded.
The inputs, wow.
Oh my god.
Okay, I might have to check this out.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. But it's amazing though, because even if you were not blindfolded and you were aware what's going on, you're like, okay, I gotta flick to camera 3, even though all the kids are having a dance party on camera 2, I gotta be on camera 3 to watch this guy come in the window so I can trap him in the closet, et cetera, et cetera. It takes a good halfway through the game before you even get any of the weird vampire dudes on screen with any of the human actors at once.
Oh man. So I want to get back to just how crazy this film gets, from the first act to the second act, because it happens extremely fast.
Oh yeah, a dog died, and we're in a horror movie now. Okay, I see.
We're not even there yet, because I'm not even there yet, because it's either his mother or his grandfather who tells Thomas that you shouldn't try to see Santa Claus because if you do, he'll get mad and turn into an ogre. It's his mother. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, over the phone,
and
while he's under the
table, and in the very next scene, Pere Noel is already in the house, and he's spray painting his hair white with a can of snow.
I think he did that in so he offs the delivery driver, and the caretakers come out.
Oh, that's
and he
right.
acts like he's the delivery man. He offs the caretakers. We don't see them dead until later in the film, but anybody with half a brain knows that he killed the caretakers. And then he spray paints his hair and his beard white.
Yes. And it's at this point that it occurred to me that he looks exactly like the grandpa from Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yes, he does.
To the point where I wondered if it was the same actor, because it's honestly kind of spooky how similar that looks.
Spooky. And then he climbs down the chimney in the main house.
Yes, and I thought this was a dream sequence when it started to happen.
I thought so too, and also, what kind of luck does this man have? Because there are like 50 chimneys at the top of this castle.
Yes.
And he happens to come down the right one where Tomas is.
Well, because movie magic, Brad. That's the true answer.
Magic.
So Thomas watches as JR attacks Santa Claus, and Santa Claus brutally murders JR the dog with a cake server, and it's very upsetting.
This is 89 in France. I hope they didn't really kick that dog.
I was watching those kicks, and I have to wonder if he was pulling those kicks, because
I hope he
knock
was.
on wood, I hope he was.
I hope. I mean, I know they didn't kill JR, but
right,
those kicks looked a little rough.
It was very upsetting.
Just gonna say.
But that's the moment where you realize that this is not a dream sequence. This is in fact for real, and that this Santa Claus is here to start some shit.
He stabs the dog through the neck with like a cake knife.
Yeah,
it's not a very sharp implement, which I think makes it worse in a way.
It definitely does, and he definitely cleans that knife and tries to stab Thomas with it later.
Okay,
and Grandpa.
Since we're talking about animal cruelty in 80s movies, now I want to talk about Milo and Otis real quick.
Oh,
please do.
Because I was curious about that. I was like, did anything actually ever come out of that? And it's a great thing that all of the reports are just like people being like, well, there's no way they couldn't have killed 30 cats making this movie.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh about that.
But all of the reports are just pure hearsay and just conjecture of just like, well, how could they not have killed a cat?
Yeah.
I haven't seen Milo and Otis. What happens?
It's basically
Homeward Bound, but everybody dies.
I'm
just kidding.
To my knowledge, it's a Japanese film that Disney just purchased and distributed.
Yeah, it's a Japanese film that Disney took and put Dudley Moore over the top of it. Or Columbia. Is Columbia Disney? Are they the same company now?
I think
everyone's
Disney...
the same company now.
Everybody's Disney now.
But yeah, it's basically just a tabby cat and a pug go on a woodland adventure, pretty much.
Yeah,
gotcha.
But there's a scene where there's a scene with a pug with a bear, and there's a scene where the cat like jumps off a cliff, and people are like, "There's no way they could have filmed without just throwing a cat off a cliff or whatever." You know?
No!
But that's the thing. It's all, according to Wikipedia, it's all just people just being like, "Oh, there's no way that couldn't be bad." And the American Humane Association attempted to investigate cruelty rumors through, quote, contacts in Europe who normally have information on movies throughout the world, end quote. While noting that the contacts had also heard the allegations, they were unable to verify them. We have tried through humane people in Japan and through other Japanese producers to determine if these rumors are true, but everything has led to a dead end.
So basically,
unlike A Dog's Purpose, where they nearly drowned a dog several times, and this was in the tens.
Yeah, I mean, it has the standard no animals were harmed disclosure from like Japanese humane societies, and there's absolutely no concrete proof of it whatsoever. But it's just a bunch of people being like, "Hey, look, I'm an English speaker, so I know shit, and there's no way they didn't kill 30 dogs."
Hey, man, they were doing research on those cats.
Okay.
That's a cat research vessel.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you thought you were going to get through this episode without a joke about whaling, but no, I'm just kidding. It's anyways.
No, now I'm just imagining a version of The Cove, but it's all about cats. Let's move on from the dog, please. R.I.P. JR.
Yeah, that really bummed me out.
So this entire movie takes place on Christmas Eve, right?
Yes.
What the fuck is it with movies and movies alone of being like, oh, everyone has to rush to the store on Christmas Eve because there's no fucking way in hell that they did any shopping before then?
There's a certain type of person that only does their Christmas shopping on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, they're called sickos.
My father is one of them.
And
Brett, I hate to break it to you about your dad.
And and according to this movie and pretty much every Christmas movie ever made, that's a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, dear God, for me, Christmas Eve is where I go home and I don't have to go to work the next day, so I can just relax.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it either.
Christmas Eve shopping is for people who didn't do the paper until the night before it was due.
It scans.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
the next
Santa kills JR, rips JR, and Tomas realizes something's up with this Santa.
What was your first
Still
clue,
thinks it's Santa. Yeah. So he goes and gets Grandpa and hides Grandpa for a while.
He hides Grandpa in the toy room, right?
That's a little bit later, I think.
Okay.
Because first they go to the car to try to escape, I believe.
Oh, yeah. And the car does the horror movie thing of not working when it's supposed to.
Of course.
Of course it does. And finally, once the kid does get the car revved up and ready, Grandpa's like, go ahead, hit him. And he's like, I can't. It's Santa Claus. He doesn't say that explicitly, but you know he's thinking it. Like, that's the reason he's stalling.
Yes, you sweet summer child.
You sweet summer child. Just fucking hit Santa Claus. It's okay. The real Santa Claus would be okay with it.
So here's a question. This movie has quite a thing for close-up on the eyes, doesn't it?
Oh, yes.
That sure does.
Oh, yes.
And every time we see Pere Noel's eyes, he has like these tiniest, like little pinpoint pupils.
That's like a thing. That's a thing in like and at least animation or anything to show that like that's an untrustworthy character.
What I'm wondering is if they're trying to get
also,
at he's on drugs, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know. He did spray that snow foam in his mouth.
Yeah, because like most drugs will cause dilated pupils, but there are some that will cause them to shrink, though.
Oh yeah. That's true. That's entirely possible.
Like if that's the only hint that Santa was like shooting H when we weren't looking, then like goddamn movie, you missed a point there.
and there's even like a running theme of Grandpa needs his insulin, so we've got the needle theme right there. It could have happened.
Dear God, that kid with the needle at the end. I'd be like, actually, kid, I think I'll just die of insulin shock rather than you stick that muddy needle in me.
Yeah, basically, it's grody. But yeah, now so the game is afoot, and Santa Claus is chasing Thomas and Grandpa through the house, and that's basically where it turns into Home Alone for the next hour.
Yeah, they do kind of belabor this for a while, don't they?
Well, I mean, it's sort of the central conceit, and I mean, if you're gonna do it, just do it. Home Alone wastes an entire. I don't know how long is Home Alone. I should know
Probably
this.
about 90 minutes.
Probably about 90, just like this.
Yeah, this movie is a tight 90. Home Alone is an hour 43, so not much longer. But Home Alone, I mean, the entire last, I would say 20 minutes is this. This movie does it for an hour. And I'm not really complaining because most of it's pretty entertaining. But man, they really milk this for as much as it's possibly worth.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, it's very weird. You have scenes where the kid is being a 10-year-old, like he's like panting because he ran up a flight of stairs. Oh, it's like, he has asthma and he's a child. The next scene's like, I guess he got a key bump because he's back at it.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of... If there's one complaint I have about this movie is that they kind of can't make up their mind about whether Tomas is a scared child or a wonderkind warrior man-child,
Yeah, because one scene he suits up like Rambo and is ready for war, and the next scene he's on the roof crying out for his mother.
I mean,
so
it's
conceivable that it could be both. But
I mean, it's a fun scene, but it's just ruined. Fun is the wrong word, but you know what I mean. It's a good scene, but it's ruined by the fact that the next scene immediately the kid's back and he has a fucking crossbow, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Like his lowest point moment does not last very long, and he's on to other things. Like, for example, getting lost in his mother's art maze, which
that's such a weird scene.
Yeah, at this point it was like, we're just in the house from Resident Evil 1. Okay,
so he and his grandpa hear a phone ringing in his mother's study because Mom rings the house and nobody's answering, so she thinks something's up. Good job, Mom. And so Tomas is trying to get to the phone in his mother's study. But his mother's study is like in this weird art labyrinth, and then he goes up and his his mom's office is like a weird derelict attic?
No, I think there was just another phone up there for some, because then there would be no movie. I don't think that was supposed to be the office.
Okay. All right.
I'm still just baffled at this art maze set because I mean, first of all, it's cool because all right, if I had a bunch of art that I wanted to put on a bunch of walls, I guess in order to make enough wall space for it, I would make a maze, but then she made a maze out of it.
I mean, rich French people in the 80s, I guess I could believe it. It seems
suppose.
Like something conceivable, like a European style. We're going to put a labyrinth in our office, and that's my office, is a labyrinth with a weird staircase leading to the attic. But then the camera like pulls up and you see it from like a top-down view, and like Thomas in the maze, and the floor is like an artist's rendering of Thomas's face, I think. It's odd.
I guess the way to interpret it, that the movie doesn't really bother to tell you, but it makes sense because, hey Joe, what did Marv say?
Suck brick, kid.
Well, besides that, that's an important thing. But the other thing, kids are stupid.
Oh yeah. Kids are stupid. That's right.
So I think it pulls back to realize it's not that confusing of a maze. It's just this kid is literally wandering in circles through one part of it.
Right, and I get that, like, you know, he's frantic. He's running from a creepy guy. Yeah, sure, you're gonna get lost, but it's just it's like all of a sudden the movie just throws this baffling like artistic choice at you, and it's like, whoa, hang on, what?
And then we're back to normal movie.
Yeah, and it's just another way of saying this family has way too much money. And at a certain point, I started to wonder, like, what was wrong with this Santa Claus, where instead of attacking the child, he's just wandering the house looking at all of this fancy stuff this rich family has. He could be stealing literally any of it, but he's not. So like I said, this goes on for a while, like an hour. And at a certain point, we were just describing all of the cat and mouse sort of scenes in this movie. You know,
yeah. There's a couple of ones I want to point out.
Yeah,
Thomas eventually gets back to his computer and sends out a message. He sends it out. He thinks to send it out to Roland of all people. He sends it to Roland and to his friend Pilou.
Yeah,
or Pilou.
Wasn't Roland in his mom's office, though?
He was. Yeah, he was still at work.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he was at the office. He sends one that Roland finds, and so Roland gets in some work truck or something and takes off after the mom who had borrowed Roland's car to go home and check on the kid.
Right.
And then
he sends
one of them, either the mom or Roland, calls the cops as well and sends a cop that way.
The mom does.
And then Pilou, the friend, gets a message as well and rides over on his bike. And I seriously thought the movie was going to Scatman Crothers this kid.
It almost does. I mean, he gets away within an inch of his life because he gets there, he sees Santa
he kind of serves as a Deus Ex a little bit.
Yeah,
because Santa's got Tomas on the ropes.
Yeah, I mean
and then Pilou breaks in.
I mean, Santa has just like sliced Thomas in the leg with the cake server, and then Pilou shows up. And Santa chases him all the way back out to the street on his bike.
And the only reason he survives is because Santa nearly gets run over by a car.
Yeah, but that's Santa. Like he's not some like lumbering, movie monster villain. He is fucking sprinting after this kid on a bike. This guy came to play. And then in the middle of all this, Grandpa is now out in the open, and Thomas has to hide Grandpa somewhere. So where does he hide him? In plain sight, in a suit of armor,
Scooby-Doo style, in the suit of armor in the main landing of the house.
I kind of love this.
They do play it up as a little bit of a joke, where he's like, doesn't Thomas say something like, "Don't go anywhere," and he's like, "I can't."
Yeah.
It's just very, like, blasé.
But then you also see, like, there are other suits of armor in the house, and I was ready for there to be, like, a huge fake out at some point where, Santa attacks the armor thinking that Grandpa was in it, something like that. But it never happened. Missed opportunity, I say.
And then something weird happens. We get a lot of cat and mouse. You do the thing where he puts darts in the neck and lights Santa on fire and all that stuff.
Yeah,
he also puts a radar on him at some point so he can set up traps while keeping tabs on whether or not Santa's close.
Yeah, he straight up sets like a tripwire trap, like some like straight up Saw 1 shit with a couple of crossbows.
With darts in them. But an interesting thing happens. There is a subplot where he accidentally bars all of the windows and has to break in to unbar the windows, which later serves a purpose when Santa is running after Pilo. He can't lock the doors. But anyways, an interesting thing happens where Santa finally has the up on Tomas, and he sends the radar back to Tomas, and now Tomas is a sitting duck, and he captures Tomas. He's got the cake cutter up against his neck, and he goes, "I win. Now I'll hide and you seek." And then he runs off.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And he does. He just runs off.
He doesn't kill Tomas.
And he gives him 20 seconds. He's like, we're going to play hide and seek. I'm going to give you 20 seconds. Don't cheat. And
well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, but it's very much a I like you, I'll kill you last type thing, though, rather than, yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because it's at this point that Tomas has to go to the caretaker's house to get insulin for Grandpa. Right?
So Grandpa's about to be fit. Yep.
Yeah. He died doing what he loved.
Yeah, remember that cop I mentioned? He's dead, by the way. They killed the cop.
Oh, by the way, yes.
The cop shows up with one of two songs in the movie playing for about 4 seconds on his car radio.
And he also drops a Chekhov's gun.
Of course he does, yeah.
Yep. Well, I guess any gun that shows up in a movie is a Chekhov's gun, but
especially
I was kind of disappointed about the lack of a Chekhov's dumbwaiter. The dumbwaiter just shows up. Any other movie would have a scene of Thomas playing in the dumbwaiter beforehand, before he uses it to get up in the attic or whatever.
Absolutely. Doesn't Home Alone? It's been so long, and I should have watched Home Alone after this, but I knew you two would do the heavy lifting. Doesn't Home Alone have a dumbwaiter?
I'm going to do something.
No, Home Alone has a laundry chute, and they use the laundry chute, but it's not necessarily a dumbwaiter.
Did Home Alone 2 had some manner of elevator, didn't it?
No, I don't think it did. It's also just like, they're a rich family living in a mansion. They probably have a dumbwaiter. It's just a movie thing that happens.
Thank you, Letterboxd. Someone made a list of horror movies where a character rides in an elevator or a dumbwaiter.
The most important use of Letterboxd. Thank you so much. Jonathan?
Lay it on me.
Let's see. Gremlins 2 is probably what's coming to mind.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This list is amazing because it includes a couple things on here where it's like, I specifically didn't include X and Y because they are not horror. Oh, I love it.
Oh, man.
Thank you, No Personality, for making this list.
We'll put a link to that in the show notes. So, throughout all of this, though, it's important to remember that Thomas thinks this is the real Santa Claus. And he's still operating under the assumption that Santa Claus is out to get him specifically because he stayed up to catch Santa Claus. And so the mother's, fear that Thomas is going to lose his magic for Christmas is unfounded, because Thomas clearly still thinks this is the real Santa Claus. And there's something nice about that. Like, the kid is under no illusions that some crazy person's in the house. He just is trying to fight and kill Santa Claus because Santa Claus wants to kill him.
As Santa Clauses tend to do.
As they tend to do, especially, I don't know a whole lot about European depictions of Santa Claus, but I imagine there's a fair bit more nuance and consequence to the story for young children in Europe than there is in the United States. Kids in the U.S. who stay up and try to catch a picture of Santa Claus, whatever, who cares?
They find a video of a Chihuahua having diarrhea under a tree.
I forgot what movie that's from. What is that from?
That is from a YouTube video. That happened in real life, my friend.
Oh. I was certain that this had happened in a film we watched.
This is going to go in the show notes, as many things we've mentioned.
Oh, yes.
I will send it to you.
So let's talk about Thomas's armband and all of the technology bullshit.
Okay.
Because the movie does take pains to make it clear that Santa is breaking the phones. He didn't cut the phone line because then the fucking internet doesn't work.
Right.
Or the BBS, I guess. And Thomas's armband computer, I will give them points for his little display. Oh god, this video.
You've seen this?
Yeah. I will give the movie points for Thomas's display doesn't just show the fucking movie, it shows what could conceivably be security camera footage.
Yes.
Like,
Yes,
how many movies
Good
have you
job,
seen a character
movie.
watch security camera footage and it's just the fucking movie? It's like, wow, this computer camera or this security system has a really good shot reverse shot. But at the same time,
Are you watching the video of the dog shitting?
I am. I'm sorry.
but at the same time, you have Thomas, whenever he wants to change cameras, he hits like 9 different fucking buttons to change cameras. Come on, kid, work on your fucking UI.
Yeah, really. But also, the Santa Claus, it has the wherewithal to find the cameras and start smashing the cameras, so Thomas cannot keep tabs on him.
Also, good job, movie.
Also, good job, movie. I do enjoy the scene where he shows up, he wanders into the, I guess it's like a musical study of some kind, sees the camera, just picks up a guitar, the nearest object is a guitar, and just smashes the camera with it.
Fucking El Kabongs it.
Yeah. Good lord.
Because these cameras are, we must mention, are not inconspicuous. They are very clear security cameras that are set up throughout the house.
Right. Yeah, they are. I'm going to throw a chaff grenade and roll under it cameras.
Yes.
Right. But yeah, Thomas's little security setup is actually kind of brilliant. And also, I remember near the beginning of the film, he's creating like an AutoCAD recreation of the house on his computer, so he can figure out like where and when the security cameras will be trained to catch Santa Claus. So that's it's setting up, his armband camera feed. But I don't know, even for 1989, it was more impressive to me than the computer hacking scenes in Jurassic Park. Where the entire file structure is just like a park map of Jurassic Park and all of the park files are in the separate buildings of the park. It makes no sense. Whatever. Yeah. What we're saying is that Tomas, however you want to pronounce that name, I really don't know how Thomas in French is supposed to be pronounced. All we're saying here is that Tommy is a very clever little boy.
Too clever by half.
Too legit to quit. So who winds up saving the day but Grandpa? We're going to kind of skip over the very melodramatic scene where Grandpa falls into a diabetic coma and Thomas has to revive him with a needle. It happens. But it happens.
Tommy did lead into that scene. We have to mention that Tommy picks up the police officer's gun.
Yes.
And shoots Santa out in the outside as he's going between the caretakers and the main house. And Santa is taken care of.
I want to bring up a point.
Drops the gun in the foyer.
Yes. I want to bring up a point because we talked about Santa letting him go. Because again, this dude is not just a murderer. He's also like fucking insane. Because he lets Thomas go and he runs off and hides in the police car outside. Because then when Thomas gets in the police car, he tries calling on the radio and the dude attacks him and goes, "You're cheating! You're cheating!"
That's right. Yeah.
And then he hits a tree.
It runs in the family.
Yep.
It runs into trees in the family.
Yeah.
Then we get into him shooting Santa out in the snow after he trips over the police officer's corpse.
Right. And he's still all in the name of getting back to the house to rescue his grandfather.
Yes.
And
because he calls for medical backup to the house on the police radio.
Right. And so he gives his grandfather the much needed insulin shot. There's no telling how much that had to cost. And not a moment too soon because Santa shows back up and Grandpa wakes up, grabs the gun, and decides to fire, even though he can barely make out the big red and white blur that's in front of him. I have to say, I enjoy every time the film goes into Grandpa vision.
Grandpa vision.
Because, I mean, the film basically like puts on beer goggles and it's just extremely blurry. And, Grandpa is legally blind, essentially. So every time he goes into Grandpa Vision, it's just one more little creepy little note.
In a lesser movie, that is to say, an American movie from like 2006 or so, Grandpa would have totally killed Tomas, and that's the end of the movie. And I'm so glad that they teased up to that point, but didn't actually do it, because if you do that in your movie, it's just like, well, what the fuck did I sit here for 90 minutes for? I could have been, as I've said previously, playing Final Fantasy XIV instead.
If Michael Haneke had directed this film, I'm pretty sure that's how it would have ended. If this film had been Funny Games, that's how it would have ended.
But
instead,
you can tell by our narration that does not happen.
It does not happen, because Grandpa shoots Santa dead. Mom and Roland show up at the house, and Mom is cradling Thomas, and Thomas is absolutely 1,000% scarred for life.
Says it's his fault.
Yes,
for trying to stay up to see Santa.
He's got that.
He still thinks it's Santa. Yeah,
he's got that million-yard stare as we go off into the end credits, and boy, oh boy, there ain't going to be a sequel to this film. I shudder to think what kind of a sequel this would be.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Good for me. So, folks, now's the time we're going to have to discuss a rating, how to rate this film. So let's go over to the Crankometer for just a hot second. Crankometer, if you're not aware, is our patented XY axis for how to rate Christmas movies. The X-axis is how Christmassy a film is, and the Y-axis is how good a film is. So, gentlemen, Deadly Games, 3615, Code Pere Noel. X-axis, how Christmassy is this? Could this film exist without Christmas?
I mean, at the bare bones, if you're just talking about a home invasion with a kid with a bunch of 80s tech, yeah, but you lose all the trappings, and what the hell are you even doing here?
Yeah, that's kind of where I am.
Yeah.
What's kind of the point?
Pretty much.
I guess.
And
plus, you have the whole angle of him believing it's Santa Claus, which is a whole thing.
Right, and there's the whole aspect of this being like all just a game. And he's playing the game of trying to catch Santa, and then this Santa turns it into a cat and mouse game of death. And also, I mean, Christmas is all about fun and games, so I get that. But I want to say this movie doesn't misuse Christmas at all, but it definitely needs Christmas to have any kind of impact.
Yeah.
I don't think this would be not notable at all if it didn't have Christmas in it. I guess also if Home Alone didn't exist, this would probably also be a non-starter.
Let's talk about that amongst ourselves real quick. Does Home Alone rip off this movie in your opinion?
So this came out a year before Home Alone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could there other than somebody catching wind of this movie being in production in France? I mean, I guess that's completely conceivable. I'm sure there are people that are in both the French movie industry and the American movie industry.
Well, because I looked it up, what do you two know about the inspiration for Home Alone?
I know nothing about the inspiration for Home Alone.
I know a little bit, and all I'm going to say is this film was first released, in March of '89. John Hughes claims he got the idea for Home Alone in August of '89. So there's at least a good 4 or 5 month window where it's conceivable he could have seen this film.
Yes. Basically what John Hughes said about Home Alone was his inspiration for it was thinking about going on a family trip and like, what if I actually left my kid at home? What would he do?
Right.
That's a nice cover story, but no, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, and it's entirely possible that because this is a French film and he's, it lives in America where we don't necessarily get a lot of French films. It's entirely possible he never saw this.
I don't think it's inconceivable that a bootleg of this was bumming around Hollywood.
Well, the other thing I'll say is the fact that all that's really happened is the director of this has been basically grousing about Home Alone for years rather than suing anybody about Home Alone. Might lend credence to the idea that he is to some degree aware that he doesn't have too much of a leg to stand on. It's very... There are some similarities, but they're so... It's all like very
It's
weak.
kind of one of those situations where they kind of both were. It's an ants / a Bug's Life situation.
Yeah.
Or the two movies that were called Casual Hookup or whatever it was. What was it called? No Strings Attached?
There's No Strings Attached and Friends with Benefits.
Yeah, that both came out within like 2 weeks of each other, I think.
Yeah, it's a very Dante's Peak / Volcano situation.
Or Olympus Has Fallen / what's the other
White
one?
House Down.
Yeah, where
White House Down.
where you want to claim that, this movie or the other movie, and probably what happened is both of the writers watched the same fucking TV show a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, it's also kind of like my friend in college who swore up and down that Joss Whedon stole his idea for Firefly. Like, no, absolutely not. You just happen to have the same idea at the same time.
It happens.
It does happen. But yeah, like you said, the fact that, he groused about Home Alone for so many years instead of actually trying to sue over it kind of tells me that it's just a case of sour grapes, really. I mean, I know that he did attempt to threaten legal action against 20th Century Fox, and they basically told him to fuck off.
Whoops.
So there's that. But, I mean, back to the matter at hand. I think this film wouldn't be as charming without the Christmas angle. I think if this character was just a crazy person inside a rich kid's house, it wouldn't be that interesting. But the fact that it's a crazy Santa Claus and the kid believes that it's Santa Claus, that it gives it a depth that I don't think you'd have otherwise.
There are also some really good set pieces which probably would only be informed by Christmas, like the train scene.
Yes. We didn't even talk about that scene.
We didn't talk about this scene. How did he set up the lighter to light?
Okay, so
I don't get it.
So
the idea was that the lighter would hit, like it would run into something and just basically act like a pressure switch.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
So yeah, Thomas builds a grenade out of a toy grenade casing with gunpowder from a fireworks and also a bunch of marbles.
Yeah. You're like, holy shit, apparently Thomas is French for Tamerlan.
But
like, I looked at this, like, this kid's making a fucking pipe bomb. What the hell are we doing, France?
I mean, they basically instruct you on how to build a conceivably working pipe bomb.
Not only that, it's like a bomb chew situation where it's a mobile bomb.
Yeah, exactly. And he puts it into like a toy train, and the toy train has like a pressure switch on it, and he sets it off to towards Santa Claus. Santa Claus grabs it and just like turns it around, cranks it again, and lets it keep rolling.
This is a kind of a good scene.
It's very tense.
It's 4 minutes. It's got a nice tension to it.
It's a very like Alfred Hitchcock kind of scene, yeah.
Yeah, he grabs it, smiles gently, warmly, winds it back up, and sends it right back towards Tomas.
Because he knows the moment Tomas, jumps out to grab it, he's gonna grab the kid. So and also
because he sends it towards Grandpa, which I assume he knows is in the suit of armor by now.
I would make the argument that Santa doesn't know any of that. Santa's just like, oh, we're playing with toys, yay!
Yeah, I agree with John. Yeah, that's definitely it.
Okay,
I don't think because at no point does Santa. Well, okay, there's one scene where Santa like really goes after Grandpa, but other than that, I don't think he actually knows where Grandpa is after that, nor do I think he cares. So I'm gonna be generous, and I'm gonna give this at least a 3 on Christmas.
Christmasity.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. We were doing Crank Holiday. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, John.
I could agree with a 3.
Yeah, I'll go with 3.
Like any more, and I feel like we just kind of be lying to ourselves because, like, yeah, it's Christmassy, but it doesn't necessarily need it. But also, it kind of sort of does, but it doesn't really do a whole lot with the trappings of it. And
you'd have to make some major rewrites to make it not be Christmas. And if you did that, like, you're just making straw dogs for kids.
Yeah,
it's the same. It's this kind of about the same level of Christmasity as Home Alone. Like, could conceivably happen any time of the year, but Christmas gives it that extra added something. Je ne sais. Let me say it adds a certain je ne sais quoi.
I don't know what that means.
Va te faire foutre.
Good job, both of you. I love you both.
Thank you.
Those are both very good jokes. Thank you.
So yeah, a 3 on the Christmas quotient. Now let's get to the real heart of the matter, the y-axis. How much did we actually like this film? How good is it? I personally had a pretty good time. It was not I'm going to say I was a little bit underwhelmed, but that's mostly because we've been building this up in our heads for the last 2 or 3
the problem
years.
is it is and always was just a mid-budget 80s movie at its heart.
That's true.
And
That's true.
When it's like if you got Cobra built up for you so much, then you finally watch it and you're like, is that it? But if you go into it noting Cobra is just dumb 80s schlock, Cobra is amazing.
That's true.
It's all right. Some people were building this up as like having a cult, being the next cult Christmas hit. I don't know if it deserves that.
No, like I don't think like people are going to be calling this the next Die Hard, because obviously it's not and never has been.
Yeah, I feel this movie has some weird problems with pacing that aren't intentional. There are some intentional, like, whiplash, but there's also a kind where it just happens and the movie doesn't want it to happen, but it just does.
Right. It definitely does that thing that a lot of these Christmas horror movies that we watch tend to do, where like, oh, they're trying to walk the line between being like a horror action movie, but also being a Christmas movie. And it can't really commit to one or the other without sort of betraying the other, you know?
That being said, I will say this is one of the better Christmas horror movies we've watched for this show.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
No question. No question. And
yeah.
As clever as I think a lot of the set pieces are, and as good as a lot of the attention to detail is, like there's so much of like the set dressing and the model work for the house. It looks like it's a fantastic looking film too. It has a very strange kind of vibe to it, and I can't quite put that into words either. It has a very.
I want to give it some points for the fact that it's odd, and I guess maybe it's because I haven't watched a lot of French 80s action films, but it's got a certain dreamlike quality to it.
Yes.
And it's just unlike something, it's unlike anything that I've seen. And I don't necessarily mean that as like glowing praise, but it's certainly original in its set pieces and its characters and things like that. Like the toy room is just so weird, and some of the weird turns into like almost art house-ness for a second.
Yeah, and I can imagine like an American version of this film that's not Home Alone. That's kind of rides the line between like a fantasy horror and like an actual Christmas movie, and it's basically a Terry Gilliam film. And so like watch a version of this. It's basically Time Bandits, and Time Bandits has a lot of the same kind of look and feel as this, I think.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it well enough. I'm also going to give this a solid 3. It's a solid French or Christmas horror movie. I liked it.
I did not regret my time watching it.
Yeah.
So I think that's worth positive points at least.
It's definitely worth seeking out.
Yeah, if you like horror movies or you like Christmas movies or both of them, definitely do yourself a favor and watch it. I'd go with like a 2 or 3. I'm usually not a big horror guy, which is why I guess maybe I'd lean towards a 2, but I'm willing to do a 3.
That's fair. John?
All right. I'm comparing this to some of our other Christmas horror movies. I think I can't compare it to Silent Night, Deadly Night at all, because those are
special creatures.
They are an exception to every rule. Comparing this to, let's say, to Krampus, I like this better than Krampus. I like this better than Better Watch Out, of course. Fuck that movie. Actually, let's say that. Let's compare this to Better Watch Out. One of my problems with Better Watch Out was that the kid was about fucking too clever by about 1.5.
Well, this movie kind of has that same problem, but it sidesteps it because
the kid is not the villain.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I think that's what it gets into. It's so much more fucking annoying when you have the villain is just, it's the problem with Saw. It's like, okay, I don't need to watch the villain play like 5D chess when I'm not even informed that we're playing any form of chess at all. Like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I get that. Honestly, we haven't really watched a lot of Christmas horror movies on this podcast to really compare it to.
Black Christmas is the other thing we're forgetting.
Yeah, Black Christmas. There it is. Ooh, wow.
All right, here I searched up. We started Home for the Horror Days a couple years in with that name, but we've watched plenty of horror movies. Things that you have tagged on our website, www.christmascreeps.com, with the horror tag: Gremlins, Jack Frost, Elves, the 1989 movie, The
Oh,
Munsters'
yeah.
Scary Little Christmas, Krampus, Holidays, Jack Frost 2, Prometheus, Silent Night, Deadly Night, Better Watch Out, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, Anna and the Apocalypse, Jaws 4. We watched Jaws 4? Holy shit.
I remember that. That was a good episode.
Yeah. Yes.
Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Black Christmas, and I guess if you want to count The Crazies.
So, I mean, we've definitely had our share of horror movies then. This is just, it's so different than anything we've watched before. It's kind of hard to know how to rate it. It's
Yeah, I mean...
Would you guys say this is more of a thriller than a horror?
Yeah, I don't want to compare
Maybe.
this too much to Home Alone, but this is just like a very violent Home Alone. That's an unfair
Yeah.
comparison because this was way before Home Alone, but...
You know, a lot of people like to say, "Oh, Home Alone is just, you know, Die Hard for kids," and so I'm imagining a Venn.
No, this is Die Hard for
I'm
kids.
imagining a Venn diagram, and there's two circles, and there's Die Hard and there's Home Alone, and then the like Venn diagram where they meet, that middle, it's Deadly Games. It's Dial Code Santa Claus.
An interesting fact, an interesting question, which I don't think any of us are prepared to answer and did not do any research. Was this marketed towards children in France? Or was this more of a general audiences
Let's find
or
out.
even adult affair?
All right, we're gonna look at the IMDb page for this, I think, and we're gonna look at some of the release data.
It's a little violent.
It's a little,
For
yeah,
kids,
explicit.
I must say, but
It was released
different cultures.
in France. It was released basically general audiences with it's basically got a PG in France. It got a 13 in Spain and Quebec and a 16 in Argentina and West Germany. So it got an equivalent to a PG-13 basically.
Yeah,
So more or less marketed towards kids. Then.
yeah, basically. And
Very interesting, and it does have that. It does have an element of that, like little kid wish fulfillment. Who didn't, when they were little, like fantasize about having cool gadgets and being a tech whiz, or at least me.
That was
for one part.
always a thing in kids movies from like the mid to early to late 90s. There's any 90s kids movies, kids just love fucking tech for its own sake. Not even toys, but it's just like, is it Home Alone 3 or 4 where the kids like, or just Pete and Pete where he has the fucking garage door opener?
oh, yeah,
It's not a toy. It's just it's a tech. It's a gadget, and the gadget is inherently fun somehow.
yeah. I mean, if you were a kid from the mid '80s to the mid '90s and you didn't want to be Data from the Goonies, you're a fucking liar.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think we're gonna land on.
John, did you actually give your final verdict on your number?
I didn't. I liked it. We've watched some stuff that's better. We watched some stuff that's definitely fucking worse. I'd say a 2 or a 3 would be a good rating for it. It does. There is no immediate need to take this out to Santa's workshop for me. There's no immediate, oh, they should have done this, that, the other better.
Right.
Not saying it's perfect, but there's not any immediate glowing, this was fucking stupid jumping out at me.
There you go. A glowing endorsement if I've ever heard one.
Not fucking stupid. Jonathan 5, the human robot.
Put that on your
That's-
damn posters.
Yeah, really. Yeah, so I think a solid 3-3 is about where we're going to land on this. I would love to hear if anybody else out there has watched this and what they thought about it. Yeah, so please, I'm encouraging you to go check it out on Shudder or wherever you can find a copy of this movie. And yeah, let us know. Join in the conversation at ChristmasCreeps.com or on Twitter at ChristmasCreeps. So, gents, what's next for y'all in August and September of 2020? What else does Hell World have for you? Well,
One last thing. We didn't really mention any of the actors or actresses in this movie because it's nobody you've heard of.
or
Brigitte,
more
Brigitte
specifically,
Fossey is
it's-
probably the biggest name. And still, it's like, who?
more specifically, it's nobody we've heard of, which is maybe worse. Because we're uncultured swine and we don't care who knows it.
I mean, half of the time you guys mention directors or actors, I have no idea who the hell you're talking about, so I don't feel bad because I don't even know American.
Brad found out who Tom Hanks was last week. It blew his mind.
Yeah, I would probably say Brigitte Fossey, who plays the mom, is probably the biggest name in the movie. And even then, she's not really that big outside of France.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah. That's Dial Code Santa Claus, or Deadly Games, or Game Over, whatever you want to call it. This movie has way too many fucking names. I don't even know what name we're gonna use for the fucking episode, to be honest.
Yume Kojo, Doki Doki Panic.
Honestly, it's gonna be Dial Code Santa Claus. I mean, it's whatever.
It's probably the best approximation of the French title, I would say.
Yeah, the French title is a very specific thing, but it's like calling the movie Santa.com, basically.
Yeah.
Hey,
is there a movie called Santa.com?
There was a movie called Fear.com, right?
Yes. Stylized as FEARDOTCOM.
And there was the TV show Freaky Links.
Yeah.
Which I'm gonna guess was about the internet killing people.
Sure. Why not? Santa.com is a website where you can receive personalized letters and texts from Santa Claus for kids and grown-ups.
What about Santa.com.com?
Santa.com.com.
No, Santa.com.com sends me to a Santa for hire website, like a professional Santa Claus you can hire. Which I swear this picture on here has, like, one of the pictures, it has to be from some movie we watched. It has to be from some poster we've seen.
I do not recognize this. I really
do
not.
It is. I've seen other people using it as a Guns N' Roses thing. It looks like what it might be is it might be a default template of like, hey, put whatever icon you want to do in this Christmas ornament ball, though.
Oh, sure. Yeah, why not?
I dislike this.
I did like a basically Google's version of TinEye for that, and it came up with like a lot of pictures using that same format of just random things. Like there was the Guns N' Roses logo, a dog. It looks like it's just some like basically meme thing, pretty much.
Yikes.
Do you guys think we could hire a Santa to just be on the podcast with us through this website?
Limited availabilities for 2018. I don't think so.
And the question is, to both of you gentlemen, is whether or not we want the Santa to stay in character throughout the entire podcast.
Oh, no question. We have to hire a department store Santa Claus to be on the podcast with us and review Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, but stay in character as Santa Claus. Absolutely, yes, I want this to happen.
I think we might actually have to try to make this happen.
This is absolutely what we should open a Patreon for. If we get enough money, we will hire a Santa Claus.
Yeah, when I was talking about the Santa Claus is a Stinker DVD earlier and being like it's $40, I was gonna say that's about $30 more than I'm comfortable making Joe spend on this podcast. But no, Joe, you are now this is now coming out of petty cash for hiring a Santa.
I mean, they've got to probably reduce their rate from an in-person visit to being on a podcast.
Also, right? In the middle of fucking August.
That too.
Hey, Santa's got to eat too, you know? Well, friends, that's going to have to do it for this episode of Christmas Creeps. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation of ours. I hope you've found a film that you're going to have to now go track down, because honestly, this is a unique one, and we hope you track it down and enjoy it in your own lives. Watch it in the middle of August like we did. It's great. But until next time, friends, you can find us on the internet at christmascreeps.com. You can tweet at us at christmascreeps on Twitter. Email us anything you want at xmascreeps@gmail.com. If you are a Santa Claus out there and you would like to come and talk to us on the podcast as Santa Claus, inquiries can be made at xmascreeps@gmail.com. Also, you know, like we always say, like, comment, and subscribe. All your favorite podcatchers are here for you. For Christmas Creeps, I'm Joseph Wade.
I'm Santa.
I'm Bradford.
Good night, everybody.
For Joyeux Noel.
Beautiful.
Happy Christmas. Happy Christmas.